Welcome to This Just In, the show bringing you the latest advancements in healthcare, strategy, innovation, and public policy. And now, for the fastest voice in healthcare, here's your host, Justin Barnes.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the special edition of This Just In Radio. I'm your host, Justin Barnes. Today, we're broadcasting live from HIMSS25 in sunny Las Vegas. Very excited to be here. It's already been an action-packed 72 hours. The HIMSS annual conference is always a centerpiece of my annual schedule, and this happens to be my 25th HIMSS annual conference and my 11th year broadcasting from the annual conference. Even in 2020, the COVID year, we still had the broadcast and all of the same amazing guests. We just hosted this broadcast remotely and all of my guests dialed in. Many of the same leaders you're going to hear today and over the next couple of days, like Hal Wolf, Rasu Shrestha, Anish Chopra, and many more familiar names. I feel very fortunate to be able to broadcast annually from HIMSS. Hal Wolf, Albie Zakes, Morgan Searles, and the entire HIMSS team have been extremely supportive, and I'm extremely and tremendously grateful. Also, I can make a special note of thanks to Roberta Mullen, Greg Masters, Carol Flagg, and the entire Healthcare Now radio team for their tremendous support and managing the demands of my HIMSS broadcasts annually and the recordings. Also, I'm eternally grateful to all of my hundreds of guests throughout the years and certainly to all of my loyal listeners. We owe all of this show's success to you, and we still are so honored to have won the Sway Health 2024 Healthcare Podcast of the Year award that never gets old, but rather challenges us to get better every day with every broadcast and every conference. Which leads us to today. This is the start of 3 days, 5 shows, and over 40 guests here in Las Vegas for HIMSS25. We have our best lineup yet of CEOs, CIOs, CTOs, care providers, researchers, policy leaders, and visionaries joining this show. As many of you know, my goal for broadcasting live each year from these key conferences is to create an information medium that shares best practices, key strategies, and actionable intelligence from the industry's leading sources and experts. My objective, along with all my guests here, will be to offer tactics and strategies to not only survive, but to thrive as you navigate your hospital, your physician practice, your company, or even your family through all these changes occurring across healthcare today. There is more opportunity than ever before for all of us to thrive, but we must understand how healthcare is evolving, how policy and reimbursement is shifting, and where best practices and innovation can support our efforts. I hope you glean all of this over the next few days. That's at least my goal. Welcome back to This Just In Radio Show, broadcasting live from HIMSS25 in the AMD Booth in sunny Las Vegas. Very excited to introduce my next guest, a new friend of the show, Matthew Dietz, AI and security leader with Cisco. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Happy to be here, and thank you for allowing me to join.
You got it, always. So first of all, when did you get in town?
So I arrived, 2 days ago, basically at midnight, which is 3 a.m. my time.
Yes.
So from Indiana, so coming from the East Coast, it's a little bit hectic.
Yeah, we came in on Sunday and had a 24-hour day. By the time we left, and got here, and then we had an event that night, Sunday night, it was a 24-hour day.
Hey, it makes it's a good time, though.
It does. It's always a great time out here. So what are some of your goals for being here?
So one of the goals that I think I'm really trying to focus on is finding out exactly what a lot of customers are looking for these days. AI is changing everything, and it's kind of changed the way not only companies like Cisco and AMD are looking at healthcare, but also healthcare providers themselves, and also understanding where they're looking at how they can increase patient care. How can they improve that in new and exciting ways?
Yep. What are some of your goals specifically with some companies? I mean, obviously you're here with AMD, but what are some of your specific goals that you want to do, and what companies would you want to work with in that regard?
Obviously AMD is one of them. So we're truly excited about the partnership we have with launching our new 9300 series Catalyst switches with the AMD DPU, which is going to allow us to do some really amazing security type applications in the AI space, and it's going to start driving very low latency type applications in data centers everywhere. But there's numerous different companies. I don't want to call any out specifically, but just seeing how we can collaborate, because going at this and taking a stab at the AI age, we can't do it alone. It has to be a collaborative approach, and so trying to figure out who are the new market leaders, who's trying something new and interesting, and how can we partner.
Excellent, love it. So what's some of the progress that you're most excited to seeing in the industry today?
I think understanding how to leverage AI. So it's not just AI itself. That's been around for quite a bit, but
Yes.
honestly, seeing how to actually leverage it and drive business outcomes, and outcomes that actually have impacts in people's lives, such as patient care, personalized care. Being able to leverage AI to start driving a very specific personalized care for a patient is very, very amazing, and it's exciting to see.
Yep, I completely agree, and that's come up on a couple of my shows, and I'm very excited about having, even the last guest, we're talking about having the digital twin, and it's basically the personalized medicine that comes along with that. We're not to be, I say the word guinea pig, we don't have to be guinea pig as much as we're going to know exactly, we'll have our genome sequence, our bionome, and we'll actually know what treatments are right for us and the very best care. Our doctors, they know a lot of that, but even my a couple guests ago brought up, I forget the exact stat, but basically, it takes us 15 years to learn as much as we can now learn in 74 days in healthcare because of GenAI, something like that. So what that means to us for care, what that means for us as a patient, also our whole care team, clinicians, it's significant. So
yeah, and I think there's a point to be made there is not only are we going to be able to give that information to a lot of our healthcare providers about our history, our genetics, but also ourselves. I mean, there's no way I could tell you what my predispositions are for certain ailments or anything like that, and so being able to have that knowledge in the palm of your hand is truly exciting.
Yeah, I did 23andMe about 7 or 8 years ago, and it's pretty fascinating. It's spot on. I think everything that comes out, even if they keep asking me these questionnaires, and I fill them out, and everything's always spot on. So your genome tells you a lot.
It absolutely does.
It's pretty perfect in that regard. What healthcare or digital health trends are you seeing in the industry today? We talked a little bit about AI, but what else you got?
Security. So obviously, over the past couple of years, we've seen many security events, and it's
absolutely,
it's kind of going hand in kind of lockstep, because as we start gathering all this data to start driving a lot of these AI initiatives, all that data is now a potential source of leaks, attacks, and so all these different AI driven initiatives that are exciting, those AI capabilities are also in the hands of a lot of our adversaries, and so we need to make sure that we're taking a proactive approach now and moving towards like a zero trust model. And so that's what I'm seeing a lot in the industry is moving to zero trust. It's not an option anymore, and understanding that we need to have a hyper dispersed security platform, because our entire environment is now very, very hyper-dispersed because of AI.
Right. So following up on that, what's a few trends or best practices to navigate that, and how would someone step into that, dip the toe in the water there?
So one of the best trends and best first steps is to look at the data, how you're going to capture it, and what's your data governance policies. How are you going to handle capturing, who's going to have access, really start approaching it from the ground up rather than rushing to just do AI and then trying to figure out your data. Start with the data, figure out how you're actually going to have compliance standards around it, governance standards, and security at the forefront. And then once you have that foundation, building up to actual AI applications is going to be extremely easy.
So that governance structure, who's involved in the governance structure?
So that's going to be a lot of your CISOs. You're also your chief policy officers. So it's going to vary by different companies, different industries, but it's going to have a very high level of different security, but policy, but also individuals like HR and different IT focuses, because they need to actually implement these governance policies and these controls. So it's going to involve quite a few different people, which is different because before AI has always been and technology has always been IT focused. We're seeing a huge shift now where business leaders and your C-level folks are now engaged in all these conversations.
Yep, excellent, great point. So what markets, healthcare is your market, what other markets do you have in Cisco?
So I come from government,
okay.
So I focus on government as well as education, healthcare, and dabble a little bit in finance and manufacturing, but a little bit of everything from a global perspective.
Excellent. Well, I think healthcare is a lot of fun though, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this is one of the best conferences I've ever been to. This is my first time here, and just meeting different people, different walks of life, and understanding that everyone is looking at technology not just to implement, but can we leverage this to drive a positive impact in people's lives.
Absolutely.
And that's something special. That's something that is very unique to healthcare.
Yeah, and I agree. This is my 25th HIMSS, but this room is full of people who are literally trying to create a better ecosystem, for themselves, for their families, for their companies too, but really it's all personal. Healthcare is all personal. We're patients,
Well, I mean, everyone has had a family member themselves have a medical event, has struggled in that regard, and I think it's something that everyone can resonate with, and that's why it has, the legs to continue on it and kind of be one of the first industries that really start leveraging AI for good.
Yep, love it. What do you think, putting on the proverbial crystal ball hat and then looking into the crystal ball, what do you see as a trend or strategy we need to be able to navigate in 2 to 3 years from now?
So a couple that are coming down the line, I think, is going to be around an advanced type of security. So we're at the age now of kind of deep fakes. Being able to, I always tell my wife, give me 15 seconds, I can clone your voice.
Yep.
I can clone your mannerisms in a minute video. There's things like that are out there that pose real threats, but we're also going to see, on the flip side, very sophisticated AI-powered cybersecurity tools. And then, when it comes to actual trends in healthcare, I think in a couple of years is going to be around that personalized care. One of the models that Google is actually looking at releasing is around their Titan model.
Yep.
And what this is it's allowing them to release a model that learns during inferencing, which take that into, from concept to reality. What that would do is basically say, my watch on my wrist soon will be able to understand everything about my past, prior, and current health, and then be able to communicate that to my healthcare providers. And so we're going to see a much more connected experience with our healthcare providers, and it's not in any way meant to take jobs. What it's doing is actually making a lot of the doctors' responsibilities, nurses, all of our healthcare professionals' jobs much, much easier, because now, instead of spending so much time trying to figure out who and why, they have it at their fingertips, and that's exciting.
That is good. So do you want to clone? You must really love your wife if you want to clone her voice.
Oh, absolutely.
She's. I don't want to clone my wife's voice.
She's my alarm. It's okay. So, it gets me. No, yeah, it's so funny because she's very excited about AI, and then I have to introduce the dark side of it sometimes.
Yeah, well, my last guest brought that up, and I was, because, and I've known him for a long time, but he talked about how, I brought up the digital twin, but then he talked about, and then the security behind the digital twin, who has access to the the digital twin, and then what nefarious can happen with that too, which is a good point, because I see only all the opportunity for the digital twin, but then obviously the security and privacy behind that is significant, because there's a lot in that digital twin. So.
Absolutely, and that's it goes back to kind of what I spoke about earlier around the DPU-powered switches.
Yes. Because
right now, everyone is talking, has been talking, or should have been talking about zero trust. And zero trust is all about figuring out what devices, what users are doing what, where, and when, and constantly monitoring them. But with the rise of AI agents, now that implicit trust is being handed to AI agents, and so now we're not just sitting here looking at what our users and devices doing. Now we have to wonder and monitor what these AI agents are doing. So as much power as they bring, it's also another leg that we have to make sure we secure.
Yeah, excellent point. Matthew Dietz, Cisco, thank you for joining the show, my friend. Appreciate you. Yeah, thank you. Welcome back to This Just In Radio Show, broadcasting live from HIMSS25 in the AMD Booth, 4471 in sunny Las Vegas. We're excited to introduce my next guest, a new friend of the show, Norman Champigny. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
My favorite name of all my guests, the entire show. I have 40 guests here at HIMSS, and you have the best name ever.
Thank you so much. It's a beautiful French name, and you say it so perfectly.
Awesome. Thank you.
My parents would be proud of you.
Amen. I love it. Co-founder, managing partner of Azentys.
Correct.
So, tell us a little bit about Azentys, maybe 30 seconds before we dive into the questions. Tell us about Azentys and what you guys do.
Yep, exactly. What we do is we provide a structured methodology for a partners alliance ecosystem. So our value is we provide a methodology that our clients will have a partner alliance ecosystem that is going to be scalable, repeatable, and reportable for mutual revenue gain, to help monetize it, as well as in healthcare, in this example, is that the joint mutual value proposition is going to be that it's all about patient outcomes and patient care.
Excellent, excellent. So, before we dive in, I have a follow-up question to that. Who here, because I always love to learn, so does my audience, who here would be a big customer for you to reach out to? Who do you want to speak to while you're here? Who have you spoken to while you've been here that you like? That you said, they're a great fit for us?
Yeah, I did a lot of walking around and observations, so it's not one in particular vendor. What I do see perhaps is a use case, right? And we're seeing it really needs, what I'm learning here at HIMSS25 is cyber resiliency. It's very becoming, right? And a lot of partners are really not struggling, but they have to grasp, right, their methodology around that and how to partner with that. So I see that as an opportunity, as one of the opportunities. So there's no really particular vendor.
Yep. These case.
But if I can extrapolate on that, sometimes a small to medium-sized organizations that need the skills or fractional executive means, we can do that as well. Or maybe like a large organization, say, we grew so fast, we have no structure in place.
Right.
We don't have a scalable, repeatable process.
Right.
So we have a mutual monetization agreement. So those are opportunities as well.
Excellent. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
So, I like to start my show off with something positive. What progress do you that you enjoy seeing in the industry right now that you most like to see?
Well, I like to give a historical perspective. End of day, I'm a motorhead, right?
Yep.
I'm all about. I cut my teeth with storage, networks, servers, networks, and like so.
Is that where you met our friend Tony?
Excuse me?
Is that where you met our friend Tony Nunes?
Yeah, exactly. About 30 years ago. Yeah, we have a lot of great stories to tell, and because of great leadership, we've done very, very well in our careers because of that great leadership. But just to give a historical perspective, like 30 years ago, my first industry expertise was in banking and finance. So I would visit these accounts and develop some, type of architectures when you need to grow.
Yep.
And the CIOs and the IT directors would be really so proud of the data center. They would show off the data center, and I would walk in the columns of the servers, the storage, and all the lights are blinking, very nice and neat. And it was important because in banking and finance, it's people's money.
Right.
End of the day.
Absolutely.
And then all of a sudden they said, "Hey, Norm, we need to expand in healthcare." I knew nothing about healthcare. Okay, all right, let's go. And with that said, I go to an account and learn about healthcare, and my mentor said, "You're going to be careful because what you're going to learn is." In healthcare is you're going to see the museums of technology because they didn't have the budgets like in finance and banking, and that's what I learned quickly. And let me give you an example. I went to go see a customer, and we're talking about PAC systems. He goes, "Hey, Norm, let me show you my back end, how I'm going to support that." He gives me a tour of his data center, and I see an OS2 in 2006, an OS2 server backing up data.
Yeah.
And that's why I recognize concern. So to extrapolate on that then it came about in 2009, is where we had a high-tech act. And that really helped foster and catapult,
absolutely,
right? The healthcare providers going to an EMR platform, and that did together is EMR connected. It extrapolated to EHR, all the other data systems, and that hence, finally at parity is these healthcare providers are able to share and protect, manage data for patient outcomes.
Absolutely.
So third is that really spawned, right, a huge alliance ecosystem. So just look at this booth here, right? You see all the partners. Look at all these booths, right? They proudly display their partners, right? And that's critical because I mentioned earlier, together they need to have a partnership with mutual gain for the end user, right? And that is for patient outcomes.
That's excellent. So what, fantastic, and I totally agree. What trends do you see out there in the industry right now?
I've been thinking about that and walking around. I think it's what we're about to see. And what I mean by that, Justin, is just recently we saw the healthcare pricing transparency executive order.
Yep.
And I think that's key. And I was a little disappointed in some of the pundits really saying that it's a bad thing and negative. I think we need to turn that into a positive thing. Because here's why.
Yep.
If you look back in 2010, we had the Affordable Care Act, right? And we had to contend with it. But however, with the healthcare transparency pricing executive order, we have an opportunity to be more competitive.
Absolutely.
What does that mean for what does that mean for the providers? It means that it can probably deliver more care, more effective, more of a better delivery stream for patient care and outcomes. Not that they're providing bad care now, it's going to improve the delivery system. And with that said, it gives the opportunity, right, to develop new procedures, right, into healthcare provider space for delivery, gets streamlined for better patient care and outcomes. And it's going to get an opportunity for patients to say, I want to go with this provider because I can now see what the pricing on my affordability. The other thing is important as well too with that is the transparency is it's going to spawn new business, right? So it's going to spawn new outcomes and all like. So second is that with the Department of Healthcare. Department of Health and Human Services is that I think I predict some of the outcomes we're going to see is much more better. We're going to probably see food nutrition being part of that platform. And
Absolutely.
That is key. So we're going to see a lot of behavior where patients are going to have more command of their own lifestyle, which is key.
Excellent. So as a follow-up to that, how would you tell, what best practices would you tell people, hey, this is how you navigate, price transparency, or how would they implement that, or what's the next step for them to kind of go forward with that?
Well, here's the thing. the platform's already there.
Right.
The platform's there.
They are.
Right. It's a matter of how it's being delivered in terms of. So, for instance, everybody has a mobile device. Well, so if you have a patient that just went to the doctor, you need this X procedure. Right. I now have, as a patient, command of where I want to go. Right. To have those services and the like. So another area is, an example of that is, I would say, I think what you see the healthcare providers use an untapped resource, and that would be like, for instance, the registered licensed dietitians. Again, this is coming from my previous questions, right?
Yeah.
With the Department of Health and Human Services,
Absolutely.
we're going to have an untapped resource that's going to come into bloom, and that's going to be like registered licensed dietitians, because it can be part of the mix of that. What we're going to see, to add to that question as well, too, what we can see the outcomes is going to make precision medicine much more effective.
Yeah.
So we got to look at this healthcare transparency pricing in a positive spin, in my opinion.
I completely agree. I love it.
Thank you.
That perspective has not been brought up on the show yet for this conference, so I love it.
Right.
Thinking beyond today, what do you see as a trend or a strategy that we have to be ready to navigate in a few years from now, in 2 to 3 years from now?
I just walking a lot, walking around, observing. I attended a number of sessions, and like I mentioned earlier, cyber resiliency is going to be key. I think the healthcare providers did a great job in regards to looking at cybersecurity, which is zero trust, encryption, the keys and the like. Now they're going to have to look at cyber resiliency. Now we're looking at cyber resiliency is about how effective if they can bring up the healthcare data workloads, right? To resume patient care immediately, because when we have a ransom attack, right, what we're seeing at stats now to full recovery is 24 days.
Yeah.
We're dealing with patient lives.
Yeah.
Right, and this is why you're seeing the providers paying the ransom. I don't want, if I was CIO of a company or CEO, I don't want to be at fault because a patient died because I didn't pay for the ransom. Right. So they're very vulnerable. So when we look at cyber resiliency, it's very key. With that said, the healthcare providers really have to put a methodology in place and practice it. They just can't develop one and store it and use it in emergency break glass. They can't. They got to use it. Right. So the other point is, to answer that question is, you're going to have the cybersecurity team and the infrastructure team and cyber resiliency work together. They can't go head to head. And that is key for the CISO of these healthcare providers. Right. The other thing I want to see is, the second I would say, it's really encouraging to see the innovation.
Yes.
Every year, AI and the like, and it's very encouraging. I feel very encouraging in healthcare provider space. However, as we look at AI and a lot of tools to augment the practice of these physicians and clinicians, is we cannot forget one key thing, and that is the oath, right? First, do no harm. Right. And that's key. As we look at it, because they can't forget that mantra. The other one is, as we deal with AI and the like, is that, in my opinion, we look at healthcare and we look at AI tools, fantastic, but I think that AI has to equate with EI, the emotional intelligence. So when the clinician provides, when I say emotional intelligence, they still have to provide the bedside manners, right? We can't take it away, in a sense. So those are the 2-3 things I see.
And even to give you some more stats on the cyber threat and what it means to our industry is, I think the average ransomware attack costs, well, the average it costs about $32 million, but the actual ransom paid is around $5 million, and it costs $1.9 million a day to be down as a care provider. That's just the financial cost. Never mind all the care is not provided. So it's significant.
Exactly. And what's key, again, I think cybersecurity is there. I mean, there's cybersecurity. It has to be a work of yin and yang. When we look at cyber resiliency, it's all about how fast at scale and speed, right, to have workload recovery. So that could be the EMRs, for instance, right? It can't be read-only. Well, we can have read-only for 7 days. No, this is, we're dealing with patient lives, right? And it's very key. So I think cyber resiliency is going to be on for the next few years. And if I can just touch upon that too, as well as in Europe, we're seeing DORA, the Digital Operational Resiliency Act, which means all the banks have to prove they have a cyber resiliency practice in place. They have to demonstrate that they can recover in 2 hours, and also demonstrate their forensics and evidence thereof, and also to have penetration tests, meaning that they have tested, right? I'm not a big regulations guy, but we need something like DORA in the healthcare space, right? So early on I said that, one time is, the healthcare industry were like the technology museum, and that changed a lot, right? But today, let it be banking, healthcare, any other industry, cyber resiliency is really concerned. I mean, they agree.
Norman, thank you very much for joining us on air. We'll see you soon, my friend.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You bet. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Awesome. That's a wrap from Las Vegas and HIMSS25. Thank you all for listening. And I certainly want to offer a note of gratitude to the dedicated partners of my weekly syndicated show. And also, again, thanks to everyone who voted us 2024 Healthcare Podcast of the Year. Thank you so much, Roberta Mullen, Greg Masters, Carol Flagg, and the entire crew at the Healthcare Now Radio Network. They've also been producing my show for 11 years, and it's a true blessing to be able to do this every single year. Also, a special note of thanks to Jake Reed, my head of media. Jake did a phenomenal job managing our remote broadcast while here at HIMSS25 and recording from the conference floor and within the AMD booth, as well as the Amazon Web Services Theater. So thank you very much to Jake, and many thanks to all of my show partners, AMD and AWS, and also a shout out to Medallion here, who gave me water for my shows, certainly my lasting shows. So thank you very much to not only AMD and AWS, but certainly Medallion. And then also Bright Hour has a foundation that I want to make a special shout out to. Sevi Browning, Georgia HIMSS, she put together this new foundation to help with workforce development and education in health IT. So Sevi Browning, she's fantastic. HIMSS Georgia chapter, they're always great partners and supporters of my radio show. Great people. So look up Bright Hour Foundation and give her some love and support. And certainly a big thank you to Hal Wolf, Albie Zakes, Morgan Searles, the entire HIMSS team. They're always extremely supportive in the events and broadcasting requirements that I have. And again, thank you so much to all my listeners. We're grateful for you. You make us better with every broadcast. And that's a wrap from Las Vegas. Have a great rest of your day, everyone.